Hare Krishna. Today's sloka, Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth chapter, fourth, fourth canto, fourth chapter, 19th and 20th verse. Today we will do. न वेदवादान् अनुवर्तते मतिः स्वयेव लोके रमन्तो महामुनिः यथा गतिर्देव मनुष्यायो पृथक् स्वयेव धर्मेण परं क्षिपेत् स्थितः न वेदवादान् अनुवर्तते मतिः स एव लोके रमन्तो महामुनिः यथा गतिर्देव मनुष्ययो पृथक् स्व एव धर्मना परं क्षिपेत् स्थितः न वेदवादान् अनुवर्तते मतिः स्व एव लोके रमन्तो महामुनिः यथा गतिर्देव मनुष्ययो पृथक् स्व एव धर्मेण परं क्षिपेत् स्थितः. Synonyms: na, not, Vedavadan, rules and regulations of the Vedas, Anuvartate, follow, Matihi, the mind, Sve, in his own, Eva, certainly, Loke, in the self, Ramataha, enjoying, Mahamunihi, of elevated transcendentalists, Yata, as Yata, as Gatihi, the way, Deva, Manushya Yoho, of the men and the demigods, Pratak, separately, Sve, in your own, Eva, alone, Dharme, occupational duty, Na, not, Param, another, Sipe, should criticize, Stitaha, being situated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is better to execute one's own occupational duty than to criticize others. Elevated transcendentalists may sometimes forego the rules and regulations of the Vedas, since they do not need to follow them, just as the demigods travel in space whereas ordinary men travel on the surface of the earth. Purport. The behavior of the most elevated transcendentalist and that of the most fallen conditioned soul appears to be the same. The elevated transcendentalist can surpass all the regulations of the Vedas, just as the demigods traveling in space surpass all the jungles and rocks on the surface of the globe. Although a common man who has no such ability to travel in space has to face all those impediments. Although the most dear Lord Shiva appears not to observe all the rules and regulations of the Vedas, he is not affected by such disobedience. But a common man who wants to imitate Lord Shiva is mistaken. A common man must observe all the rules and regulations of the Vedas, which a person who is in the transcendental position does not need to observe. Daksha found fault with Lord Shiva for not observing all the strict rules and regulations of the Vedas, but Sati asserted that he had no need to observe such rules. It is said that for one who is powerful like the sun or the fire, there is no consideration of purity or impurity. The sunshine can sterilize an impure place, whereas if anyone else were to pass such a place, he would be affected. One should not try to imitate Lord Shiva, rather, one should strictly follow one's prescribed occupational duties. One should never vilify a great personality like Lord Shiva. 19th verse got over. We'll move to 20th verse, 4th canto, 4th chapter. कर्म प्रवृत्तं च निवृत्तम् अपि ऋतं वेद विविच्योग्य लिंगमाश्रितम् विरोधी तत् युगपदिका कर्तरि द्वयं तथा ब्रह्मणि कर्म नार्चति कर्म प्रवृत्तं च निवृत्तम् अपि धृतं वेदविविच्योऽभ्यलिङ्गमाश्रितम् विरोधि तत् युगपदिककर्तरि द्वयं तथा ब्रह्मणि करं नश्यति कर्म प्रवृत्तं च निवृत्तम् अपि ऋतं वेदविविच्योऽभ्यलिङ्ग आश्रितं विरोधि तत् युगपदिककर्तरि द्वयं तथा ब्रह्मणि कर्म नश्यति synonyms karma activities pravrittam attached to material enjoyment cha and nivrittam materially detached api certainly ritam true vede in the vedas vivichya distinguished ubhyalingam symptoms of birth ashritam directed virodhi contradictory that yugapada eka kartari both activities in one person dvayam two, Tata, so Brahmani, in one who is transcendentally situated, karma, activities, na vichati, are neglected. Translation. In the Vedas, there are directions for two kinds of activities. Activities for those who are attached to material enjoyment and activities for those who are materially detached. In consideration of those two kinds of activities, there are two kinds of people who have different symptoms. If one wants to see two kinds of activities in one person, that is contradictory. But both kinds of activities may be neglected by a person who is transcendentally situated. Perfect. The Vedic activities are designed that the conditioned soul who has come to enjoy the material world may do so under direction so that at the end he becomes detached from such material enjoyment and is eligible to enter into the transcendental position. The four different social orders brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha and sannyasa gradually train a person to come to the platform of transcendental life. The activities and dress of a grahastha or householder are different from those of a sannyasi. One in the renounced order of life. It is impossible for one person to adopt both the orders. Sannyasi cannot act like a householder, nor can householder act like a sannyasi. But above these two kinds of person, one who engages in material activities and one who has renounced material activities, there is a person who is transcendental to both. Lord Shiva is in the transcendental position because, as stated before, he is always observed in the thought of Lord Vasudeva within himself. Therefore, neither the activities of the Grahastha nor those of the sannyasi in the renounced order can be applicable for him. He is in the Paramamsa stage, the highest perfectional stage of life. The transcendental position of Lord Shiva is also explained in Bhagavad Gita 2.52 and 53. It is stated there that when one fully engages in the transcendental service of the Lord by performing activities without fruitive results, one is elevated to the transcendental position. At that time, he has no obligation to follow the Vedic injunctions or the different rules and regulations of the Vedas. When one is above the directions of the Vedic ritualistic injunctions, injection for attaining different allurements and is fully absorbed in transcendental thought, which means thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service. One is in the position called Buddhi Yoga or Samadhi ecstasy. For a person who has attained this stage, neither the Vedic activities for realizing material enjoyment nor those for renunciation are applicable. ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मेयं तदान्ति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपादकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवां च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to Iskcon Seshadripuram daily Srimad Bhagavatam class. And, today's verses from fourth canto, fourth chapter, 19th and 20th verses. So let us look into these verses, background a little bit. So this chapter starts with Sati quits. So here, little background about connecting to these verses are so a few things we will discuss to connect what exactly are the exactly the little bit profile about the fourth canto and the fourth chapter. The fourth canto basically divided into two divisions. One is descendants of Manu's daughter and Daksha's sacrifice. The second portion is all about descendants about Uttanapada. So that is not for today's discussion. In today's discussion, the thread starts from Daksha's sacrifice. And a little background while describing the descendants of Prasuti, Sukadeva formed that Sati, daughter of Prasuti, uh, gave up her body because her father was unfavorable to Lord Shiva. So that is a problem here, problem statement. And how could Daksha hate Shiva? And then that is the question. There the line starts actually from second chapter, first sloka to third sloka, and then the answer moves from second chapter to seventh chapter. So we could understand why Daksha hates Shiva and today's subject matter. And in the second chapter, these are the past, little background I would like to share. At the sacrificial arena, Daksha insulted and cursed Shiva for not rising from his seat and respecting Daksha. Daksha has led a so puffed up mentality that he is the leader of the Prajapati. I am the best among this, executing the instructions of Lord Brahma in progeniting this other jivas. And then when during this activities, when Lord Shiva was cursed by Daksha, then Lord Shiva's follower Nandi also cursed Daksha and his followers. Then other Vaishnavas, Bhrigu cursed Shiva's followers. Like that, this fighting goes on. And the third chapter we discussed, Daksha started another sacrifice, and Sati wanted to go and try to convince Shiva. Shiva gave reasons why Sati should not go. Shiva is not an ordinary person. He knows what is like. Lord Krishna. He is also beyond all this, other kind of demigods like that. And now the today's subject matter is the fourth chapter, fourth canto, fourth chapter. Sati still went to sacrifice, though Lord Shiva said, don't go. But that is a Grahasta's problem. And when Daksha neglected her and Shiva, she condemned him and he gave up her body. That is what now we are our subject matter is going on. And in the future, we will see how Shiva created Virabhadra, and then Shiva's followers destroyed Daksha's sacrifice and beheaded the Daksha, and then Brahma and Devadas went to Kailasa and glorified Shiva. And Shiva revived Daksha's life with goat head. Daksha prayed to Shiva and started sacrifice. Vishnu appeared and various personalities offered prayers. Lord told Daksha not to offend again. Daksha completed the sacrifice. So this is the future, what we are going to discuss. And today's the subject matter is Sati still went to sacrifice when Daksha neglected her and Shiva. She condemned him and gave up her body. That is the present situation. And in this situation, so I will recall, the translation of these two, 19th and 20th verse. It is better to execute one's own occupational duty than to criticize others. So here, this is what important point. So one's occupational duty. So here, in the purport purpose clearly says that initially it looks like the behavior of a most elevated person and the neophyte. It looks almost like a same. They all very silent and sober. It looks like, but actually the most elevated person's qualities could be understood only once we qualify to uh, look into that activities. And it is like a comparison here, analogy Prabhupada gives. So when we travel, there are so many speed breakers, mountains, etc. But the demigod, when demigod travels, there is no traffic there. So that is what the point in the purport Prabhupada is trying to bring out. And who has no such ability to travel in the space. So ordinary people like us has to face all those impediments. So these are the problems. See, we are in the material desires, how we are suffering, and those who are born in this planet, we are all bound to three gunas. How to go above these three gunas are at least to come out of material desires like a perfect devotee, like Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj. Like that. Then, who has no such ability to travel in the space, etc. Although the most dear Lord Shiva appears not to observe all the rules. So initially Prabhupada says, so the most elevated and the fallen conditioned soul appears to be the same, but Lord Shiva is not a fallen soul or like the Vaishnavanam Yatha Sambhu. So he is not affected by such disobedience. So Lord Shiva does not care about anything like that. But the persons like Daksha, with the false prestige, they claim that they themselves, so elevated, Lord Shiva is inferior and falsifying us. So like that. In a devotional service, once in a Pandal program in Bangalore, my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapada Swami Guru Maharaj, once all the temple administrators went with so many issues to Guru Maharaj. Then immediately Guru Maharaj, hearing all those things, immediately he started replying to all the devotees saying that yes, obviously, in Kali Yuga all these things are expected. But how 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 one could come out of all this? We can find 90% negativity among the with any one person, but you try to find that 10% good quality of that particular devotee, then your life is taken care, then your progress is taken care, your relationship will be everlasting. So we never fall into Vaishnava aparad when we have the quality of taking the 10% of good qualities of everyone. So that is the problem with Daksha here. Daksha not followed that kind of qualities by mistakenly he with his puffed up, elevated mindset or a false ego, he caught up with that, and then he started exhibiting in front of the arena when this yajna was going on, like that. So in this connection, that one should remember it, that elevated position of a devotee. So Vaishnava. So one should not commit Vaishnava. That, like the scripture it is mentioned, mad elephant offense. Like that. You don't know the reactions, consequences. Like that. The devotee should be very careful when dealing with the devotional service. Obviously, the mercy will be there, but one should be mindful on all these kind of points. It's not like being pessimistic or overconfident with optimistic and so elevated. So one should be so keen on executing the devotional service only for satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, all these impediments, here it is mentioned that for an ordinary person, we travel in a ordinary jungle and all other routes, but for demigods and person, I mean, even Lord Shiva, they all above all this. So that is the point here in the first portion of this purpose. And a common man must observe all the rules and regulations of the Vedas, which a person who is in the transcendental position does not need to observe. How to understand this? When Prabhupada goes to US for preaching, it does not mean that Prabhupada should not follow any austerity or like that. So evening program, Prabhupada initial days he was conducting a evening program in the storefront, and there was a refrigerator. In the refrigerator, meat also kept. Meat also was there, and also what is that? To make prasadam, the other items Prabhupada kept. So for Prabhupada it is okay. For us, it is not recommended. Not necessarily to go and sit in the abominable places. So these austerities, because they never ever get affected by all those kind of materialistic contamination. They are like a sun and moon, fire. They have the property to purify the abominable situation or something. So we should not imitate such a thing. Okay, I can also know I will sit in the wine shop and then tomorrow I will do devotional service. No, no, it is not recommended for a ordinary jiva like us. For elevated, you know, devotees, that is secondary. But one should not imitate. That is also the subject matter here for the discussion. And sometimes, Guru Maharaj goes for preaching in Western countries or some Gulf countries like that. So some countries, there are some, objections. With saffron they cannot go, or some other, attire they will not permit like that with garland, etc. So in that situation, even, like Guru Maharaj, many a times he went with the common man, dress. But for them it is correct, but we should not imitate. Again, the point is here it is emphasized we should not imitate like artificially. We are also so elevated like even Prabhupada many a times when the devotee is going for devotional service, book distribution on Ekadasi day, Prabhupada told you even you can have grind prasad like that. Prabhupada given relaxation to devotees. Prabhupada can say, what about our position? We have to think on that austerities to elevate our. But obviously, even for Vaishnavas, there is a compromise for higher purpose. We can compromise, the lower purpose like austerities, etc. So here the austerity, if we follow some austerity, because of that, the bhakti should get manifest. So I'd like to, share one of the beautiful story from Srimad Bhagavatam. Once there were these are the stories from Prabhupada. And three sannyasis they were going to some village or something. and there was a river in that village, and there was one lady suffering, during the pain of pregnancy like that, and she has to cross that river for the treatment. Then then immediately one of the sannyasi took that Mataji on his shoulder, and he supported her to cross the river. Then the other two sannyasis keep on. They were criticizing. See, you are a very austere sannyasi, and you touched a woman, and then you crossed, this river. Keep on until they reach, that mutt or a hermitage. And then this sannyasi replied to both the sannyasis, other sannyasis who is criticizing him. He said that I left her in the river bank, and you both are carrying, till here. Like so, what is the real purpose? That austerity one should understand. So Lord Shiva is beyond all this. Like from this example of this, three sannyasis in that case. And also one could not imitate like another pastimes, which Srila Prabhupada. One sannyasi, he took sannyasa, and then he had an affair with one Mataji, nurse. And he approached Prabhupada, I want to get married. Then Prabhupada told, okay, you are welcome. You get married her, no problem. You go back to your again, grahasthasrama like. But Prabhupada only conducted, all the marriage, the ceremony, everything. And then Prabhupada told him, but hereafter I don't want to see you again. Who forced you to take, take up, the sannyasa? So until, suppose if you are capable enough to do that, it is okay, but don't imitate. The point is, here the Prabhupada's point is, don't imitate like other ashrama or varna or something. So whatever which is suitable for your three gunas, just go ahead and proceed. So that is the take home message from this. And further understanding the elevated devotee's position. The sunshine can sterilize an impure place, whereas if someone else were to pass such a place, he would be affected. Like that, I gave the example of Prabhupada's three sannyasi story. Right? He left that Mataji in the river bank, right, during emergency. There he cannot see that austerity. I am this, I am sannyasi, I could not do this, that. So that is the real understanding of reading all these Vedas and the essence of Vedas. So Vedeshta Sarver Aham Eva Vedi. So reading of all these Vedas is to know me only, Arjuna. Come above these flowery words of this Vedas. Like this is for elevated devotees. And one should not try to imitate Lord Shiva, rather one should strictly follow one's prescribed occupational duty. We should not imitate like Namacharya Haridas Thakura chanted 300,000 times in a day. There are some Western devotees came to Vrindavan and they started imitating Haridas Thakura. Prabhupada, call them, don't, tell them to imitate some senior Vaishnavas like that. So in that way, it should be taken or understood. And also in other places, for understanding, the sadhus, the elevated devotees looks like, the neophyte like that. So, Guru Maharaj, said in many places, or even Prabhupada said, how the Mataji should take care of sannyasis. They should take care of Maharaj or Guru Maharaj in such a way that as if they are taking care of their children. In that mood, Mataji should serve like that. And another example, like many people mistake, imitation to be the following. So following is different from imitating. This is a quote from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Goswami. Message is here. The two words are not the same. What is the two words? Imitation and following. To play the role of Narada in a play is imitation. So I am participating in a drama. I am imitating Narada Muni like a Narada Muni. But follow the path of devotion according to Narada Muni is following. That is the subject matter here. You should not. The drama I can imitate, but as a bhakta or a in the devotee in the devotional service, I should take their messages, not that imitation. Oh, he did, and she did. I should also follow like that. Oh, that person is doing this, and another person is doing this. And Prabhupada condemned, many places. The follower of Lord Shiva many a times taking ganja, etc. like that. And Prabhupada says, Lord Shiva took, poison. Why can't you imitate, drinking poison? Definitely, they will, die. So with that connection, one should not imitate. So that is the point here. And another supporting matter, one should simply follow the instructions of the Lord and His empowered, servants. So one should not imitate. One should not imitate the uh, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva can, drink poison, but many devotees coming forward smoking ganja and imitating Lord Shiva. So why can't you take poison, right? Like imitating Lord Shiva. So that is not the way of taking, but we should follow the senior devotees and we should follow, you know, uh, the the prescriptions or the instructions given in the Vedas. But Lord, why we are discussing so deeper like this? Because to understand the position of Lord Shiva, how Daksha mistakenly thinks, he is ordinary man. He did not, stand when I was coming to that sacrificial arena. So we should aware of all this. And in Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that is empowered. Their instructions are good for us, and any intelligent person will perform them as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate their actions. One should not try to drink the potion of poison in imitation of Lord Shiva. That is not recommended. Oh, I am also elevated. I merged with Lord Shiva. I can also drink poison. No, that is not recommended. And they all not ordinary people. They could control even the sun and the moon. They are the superiors. One could not imitate like that. Even Lord Shiva drank poison. And some followers of Lord Shiva smoking ganja, and they are calling death very near. Proper says the one who imitates like this, and they are calling the death. And also there are so many pseudo devotees forget their inability to lift the Govardhana hill. They imitate, as if they are like a Krishna. I can go and participate in Rasa Leela. They speak on this Rasa Leela matters immediately, like that. For them, all is the time. There are so many incarnation. God without. So this is the understanding of all this. And one of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'd like to share here to understand the elevated position of the devotee. So here, the elevated position of the devotee should be understood in this way. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went for a tour in South India, and he reached, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached Srirangam. And in Srirangam, there is one brahmana who has not studied the scriptures, or who is a illiterate, who could not read or study the Vedic scriptures, and he was crying by seeing the wrapper of Bhagavad Gita. uh, and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked or inquired why you are crying, keeping Bhagavad Gita in your hand, then the devotee shared, see how the Lord is so great, and for to protect the devotees, how they are coming down and uh, taking so menial service like driver, chariot driver. Those days, there is no indicator, left indicator and right indicator. The one who is riding in the rasa, uh, they will kick with the left hand. Then they have to turn the rath in the left hand side, and they have to hit in the right side of the hip back. Then the Sarthi should take the Rath towards right like this. So in that such a menial position Lord takes to protect the dharma and to care for the devotees like that. So then immediately Guru Maharaj, immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Don't worry, everybody criticizing you like you are illiterate, like that. So you learned the entire essence of Bhagavad Gita." So like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu credited that Sri Vaishnava, Brahmana. And in that mood, so only the elevated souls are, for the Lord, it is acceptable, to give that position to others. In such a way, Lord also given, such a position to Lord, Shiva. One should not imitate artificially with, puffed up mood or this thing. Keep on, we could, discuss on this subject matter and with Bhagavad Gita reference, here in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that, 52 and 53. The essence of, bringing out that reference here is in the 53rd or 52, it is mentioned, in the 52 it is mentioned that this is about, Buddhi Yoga or, Jnana Marga. The theme of 52 verse is here, persons in full Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahman, right? Like the range of Vedas and Upanishads, right? So they are they are above the Sabda Brahman. All this Shastra only for the neophyte, not for the elevated devotees like Arjuna and Prahlad Maharaj. For them, we cannot look at in that angle. How to understand this? To engage in dutiful, detached activities explained in the previous verses, one must become disinterested in all hopes for sense gratification, which are typically promoted in Vedic Karma Kanda sections. This verse implies that Arjuna should rise above the calculation of happiness and misery and fight with buddhi, fixed intelligence. So how to understand this fixed intelligence? Here Prabhupada explained, in his purpose. Example of indifference to Vedic rituals on the strength of devotional service. Sripad Madhavendra Puri, right? So Madhavendra Puri mentioned that for him, Madhavendra Puri mentions like this, right? So what Madhavendra Puri mentions in that purport, oh, my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you, O bathing, I offers my obeisances unto you, O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respect. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember that great descendants of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. So here I am remembering to understand this. My Siksha Guru always says, uh, when you become a crorepati, already you are a lakpati. So in Brahmanical tradition, even we can see many Brahmanas running behind this Sharda Shraddha or the ancestor austerities. They are running behind all this day and night, 30 days or throughout a year, throughout their life. They are having afraid of that death, for a mother or father or an ancestor or a guru. Yes, but the one who is into devotional service, all other activities are taken care. That is what when we become a crorepati, all this lakhs and all taken care, all the austerities and etc. Like that. So one should come to the stage. Even when you do these austerities like a pindadan and all these things, when you have to pray to all the demigods. Even if you miss one demigod, all that austerity is gone. So don't instead of putting our head into all these austerities. Yes, it is good. Brahminical qualities. One has got the time. All these things are good. It is not condemned. It is recommended only for others, not for the pure devotees of Krishna. Right? We can see in our society, those who have this birth identity. Yes, it is good. It is for them, not for devotees. And then the Karma Kanda section is compared to the dense, dark forest of illusion. Why you are falling into again this Karma Kanda, the Pitrus, etc. Who become indifferent to Karma Kanda even though he is experienced Brahmana. One who understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna. Right? Even come to the stage of Brahmana with all these Karmakanda activities or etc. But you come above that level. That is the point here in the next sloka. Prabhupada refers in Bhagavad Gita 53, the sloka number 53. The theme of this 53, second chapter, 53rd sloka. Finally, being fixed in Krishna consciousness, Buddhi Yoga one achieves Samadhi. So, how to understand the Samadhi or divine consciousness means? The divine consciousness or a samadhi means realization of one's relationship with Krishna. Always one remembers that mood out of different Navavi the Bhakti. The one is recommended with Dasya Bhav, like Hanuman. Hanuman always thinks of Lord Rama. So likewise, the devotees in the mood of devotional service to the Vaishnavas, Dasanudasa, that mood we never fall into the foot position of Daksha. Right? And he is no longer disturbed by flowery words of the Vedas. For them, there is no karma kanda, neither pravritti marg or nor nivritti marg. They transcends above this marg. Like the one who comes above this three guna, sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. Yes, sattva guna is recommended, but the one, the elevated devotee should come above even that sattva guna to suddha sattva. In that way. So, in this 53rd verse, the highest perfection of self realization implies to realize oneself an eternal servitor of Krishna, and one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. So, one should execute his duties in a Krishna consciousness rather, you know, imitating. And how does a Krishna consciousness person get instructions? If he neglects Vedic flowery language, now the question comes, yes, I am how to transcend all this, then how to execute. He comes directly in communion with Krishna by this process. Directly they will become a crorepati rather making lakhs like that. Only one has to simply carry out the orders of the spiritual master and Krishna. There are so many Brahminical qualities like the Brahmana should not travel the ocean, etc., etc. But Prabhupada, beyond all this, for Prabhupada that is not, recommended. So he went to, US and then he spread this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Only the Guru's instruction he followed. That is the, understanding here. And only one has to simply carry out the orders of the spiritual master and Krishna. When many reporters asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, why you have chosen Western countries? He said, my Guru Maharaj said, go to the Western countries and preach this. Right? So in that way, Prabhupada went and he proved that. For him, there is no austerities, like others, following. Thus, one is sure to achieve the results and attain conclusive knowledge. By doing this, definitely coming above the flowery words, one is sure to achieve the results and attain conclusive knowledge without imitating. Right? They all comes above the Sabda Brahma or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. Don't stay there, come above that. Right? Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engage in the, not to simply engage in the rituals. So that is the understanding. Here, when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, Prabhupada is the example. And when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. So for Prabhupada, there is no rules and regulations, Ekadasi or something. But still they exhibit, by the role models, like how, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions. That is most important. That mood is very, very important. Otherwise, it is only a imitation. This is the main meaning of these two reference of Bhagavad Gita. The quick summary is Lord Shiva is not an ordinary person, so he is above all this. Like that, Sati tries to prove to the arena and whatever the seat offered by her mother and loved ones, but she refused to take up because she knows the position of Lord Shiva. Even devotees also understand the position of Lord Shiva, not that I'm so elevated devotee and all these devatas are inferior like that. No, it is not that. The take home message is to understand, Lord Shiva's position. Don't be get puffed up by, the thought of Daksha. And Sati's reaction also correct. So I, took the birth from such a, you know, egoistic or the one who is not in the parampara system, the one who is deviating. So in that mood, Sati trying to convince the persons, those who gathered in the arena, and then finally she quits her body. But before quitting her body, she was expressing the real position of the elevated devotees like Ishwaranam Yatha Sambho, and they will not fall into Pravritti Marg or Nivritti Marg. They are above that. They are in the trance or Samadhi. So that is the point here. And also, one should not imitate artificially like this by giving this brief summary. And here I am stopping for today's discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.19 and 20. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरुदेव की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय. Hare Krishna. Once again, thanks to temple authorities, Iskcon Seshadripuram, Bangalore, for giving me this opportunity to share the nectars from Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If there are any questions or comments, please put it in the chat box. I will try to respond later. Hare Krishna. End the session now. Hare Krishna. Thanks for joining.